A reading from the Acts of the Apostles. Many signs and wonders were done among the people at the hands of the apostles. They were all gathered together in Solomon's portico. None of the others dared to join them, but the people esteemed them. Yet more than ever, believers in the Lord, great numbers of men and women were added to them. Thus they even carried the sick out into the streets and laid them on cots and mats, so that when Peter came by, at least his shadow might fall on one or another of them. A large number of people from the towns in the vicinity of Jerusalem also gathered, bringing the sick and those disturbed by unclean spirits, and they were all cured. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
In this weekend's first reading, we learn about the original boy band and their leader, St. Peter. One can easily imagine them walking the red carpet, lined by red velvet ropes, from where they lived to the temple. On their journey, the crowd would surround them, reaching out to touch them, to see them, or even better, to have Peter's shadow fall on them so they could be cured or their family could be cured. There was a genuine excitement amongst the people. These apostles, they were different. They were special. They lived their lives in a way that no one else did. They lived fearlessly, authentically, and passionately. Through the witness of the miracles that occurred on the way to the temple, the apostles' faithful observance of the law, their dedication to living out their faith, and the power of their preaching, many would come to join them. The decision to join the apostles in living, worshiping, and in ministry was not made lightly. This is hinted at in the reading today when it said no one would join the apostles in the temple. It was dangerous business to join the apostles. We'll see in the next section of the reading that when the apostles were preaching there, they would be arrested, they'd be imprisoned, and they would be flogged. It does not sound like a fun experience, and not one that most would want to take part in. But nonetheless, people would gather around them, they would begin to follow them, and we'll see in chapter 6 that so many people were following them, and there were so many needs, that there was a need for the creation of a diaconate. So how does this relate to us as 21st century evangelists? For we, like the apostles, will probably never have red carpeting rolled out in front of us, but we will be spurned, avoided, and harassed for our commitment to the gospel. So how are we to live? Like the apostles, fearlessly, authentically, passionately. The apostles, led by Peter, regularly gathered to pray. They ministered to those in need, and they proclaimed the good news of Christ Jesus. Fearlessly, authentically, passionately. We too are called to do the same, to live a life of prayer, service, and preaching, and to live fearlessly, authentically, and passionately. But what does this look like? To live fearlessly means we are to reject the scorn of others and to refuse to be embarrassed for doing the right thing, for preaching the gospel. We too must be fearless in taking the step of reaching out to the person in our ministry, or perhaps the brother we live with who is struggling, even if they are difficult people to love. We are to fearlessly stand up for those who are in need and those who have no one to advocate for them. In short, we are to be Christ for others. Authentically, we should be mindful of our vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and the four supports of habit, cloister, penance, and silence. We must make these the center of our lives and the support for our ministry and communal life. We as a community must strive to live our lives to the best of our God-assisted ability. We must live lives beyond reproach. We must make our lives a sacred preaching. Passionately, we must allow the love of Christ to bubble up within our hearts and energize our lives. We must be joyful, faithful, and passionate in our service and in preaching and in our praise. We must allow God to work through us rather than simply acting on our own. But we must do this with full commitment for ourselves and for those who follow our teaching. We must practice and believe what we teach, modeling the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ through our lives. It is only through this witness that we can be effective preachers and truly call ourselves Christian. This witness of a life lived fearlessly, authentically, and passionately must be carried out. In this season of Easter, let us rejoice in our Savior's resurrection from the dead. And may we use this Easter joy as our springboard and our source of momentum as we head into ministry this summer. Whether it be our first assignment, CPE, pastoral ministry, or working on schoolwork, let us live our lives fearlessly, authentically, and passionately. Let us live like the apostles. Dear